Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. Today, we're going to talk about all the books on my physical TBR that I want to get to this spring. And it's more so just like the books that I have on my TBR that either like the cover reminds me of spring. Some of them make no sense though, if we're being completely honest. I couldn't give you a reason why. It's just for some reason when I was looking through my stack, I was like, you know what? That seems like a good one for spring. So let's just get right on into it. The first one is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I've been putting this off forever for the sole purpose of I always see it in like reading sad books for a week video, and I just don't know if I'm mentally prepared for that. But our main character moves to a small town in Maine after a traumatic experience happened where they survived but their father was murdered. And there they meet Archer Hale, which he does not communicate with anyone, but they have this connection with Archer and this way of communicating without even talking. But there are a lot of secrets in this town, with Archer being in the center of it. So there's kind of like a mystery aspect going on to this, but I still am petrified to get to this book. But I'm hoping that this spring I finally get to it. Next up, this is one of the ones that kind of really makes no sense as to why I put this in a spring TBR, but for some reason this gives me like rainy spring afternoon feelings from the cover. That probably makes no sense, but anyway, it's The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This one is Owen, right before he disappears, leaves a letter to his wife, and all it says is protect her, and she realizes right away that he is talking about his daughter, which would be her stepdaughter, Bailey, which Bailey does not like her stepmom. They're trying to figure out how, like, where he disappeared to, and a little bit after that happens, they start realizing that maybe he's not the guy that they thought he was, because the FBI end up arresting his boss, and they show up at their house to start questioning them. And Hannah, who's the main character in this, also realizes that Bailey, the stepdaughter, may be the only key as to figuring out what happened and where Owen ended up going. So I don't know. I've heard really mixed things on this. I don't know if I'll end up getting to it. This one's kind of one of the ones that's like at the bottom of the list, but next up, another one that doesn't really make sense is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a Greek mythology retelling, and this is following the daughter of Zeus. And it says that Circe is a strange child, not powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. Threatened, Zeus banishes Circe to a deserted island where she hones her occult craft and crosses paths with many of the most famous figures in all of mythology, including the Minotaur, Daedalus, and his doomed son Icarus, the murderous Medea, and of course, wily Odysseus. But there is danger too for a woman who stands alone, and Circe unwittingly draws the wrath of both men and gods, ultimately finding herself pitted against one of the most terrifying and vengeful of the Olympians. To protect what she holds dear, Circe must summon her strength and choose once and for all whether she belongs with the god she is born from or the mortal she has come to love. Every time I read the back of this, it makes me want to immediately pick it up, and then I finish the book that I'm currently reading, and this gets put on the back burner and I pick something else to read. So I kind of just want to force myself to read this spring, and for some reason Greek mythology just feels like it mixes well with springtime. I don't really know. Next up is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. This one has been on my TBR for quite a while now. Again, I'm kind of just intimidated by this book for some reason. I don't really know. The biggest thing is the cover is what makes me think of springtime for this book. So this one's following Xingyin, who is living on the moon, unaware that she's been hidden from the feared celestial emperor, who exiled her mother for stealing his elixir of immortality. And then when her magic flares, she ends up having to flee her home and leave her mother behind. And after fleeing, she ends up going to the Celestial Kingdom. And once there, she disguises her identity and she ends up taking an opportunity to learn alongside the Emperor's son. So she's training in archery and magic. And of course, you know, we have romance between the two of them. And then it says, to save her mother, she embarks on a perilous quest confronting legendary creatures and vicious enemies across the earth and skies. However, when treachery looms and forbidden magic threatens the kingdom, she must challenge the ruthless celestial emperor for her dream, striking a dangerous bargain in which she is torn between losing all she loves and plunging the realm into chaos. I've never actually sat down and read the synopsis to this book. I just saw so much about this when it first came out that I just immediately bought it. But after reading that synopsis, this has definitely gotten bumped up onto my TBR. Next up, I have Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wenzel. This one is part of a duology, and this is the Illumicrate Special Edition, which I love the printed edges on this. They look so good. But this one, again, just the colors on the cover just make me think of spring. This one says, in a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of her nation's past and unleashing the demons that sleep at its heart. Once, Lan had a different name. Now she goes by the one the Atlantean colonizers gave her. She spends her days scavenging for remnants of the past, for anything that might help her understand the strange mark burned into her arm by her mother in her last act before she died. No one can see the mysterious mark until the night Zen appears at the tea house and saves her life. Zen is a practitioner, one of the fabled magicians of the Last Kingdom, whose abilities were rumored to be drawn from the demons they communed with. Magic believes to be long lost, magic to be hidden at all costs. Both Lan and Zen have secrets buried deep within. Fate has connected them, but their destiny remains unwritten. Both hold the power to liberate their land, and both hold the power to destroy the world. Again, it sounds good, but I just never, for some reason, think of this when I'm trying to think of what I want to read next. And because it has... This is the one downfall to me displaying all of my sprayed edges instead of the spines, because there's only a couple of them that I've read, and so I never think about them as ones to put on my TBR. So that's a problem. Next up, and I'll take this sticker off eventually, so ignore that. Ignore it. We have Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the second book in the Adrian Isolde series. The first one being King of Battle and Blood, which I read that one probably like 6 or 7 months ago. So I should probably get to this soon before I really feel like I need to do a refresher and reread the first one. But this one, okay, now thinking about this book, I genuinely actually don't really remember anything that happened in the first one. I think on my Notion, I've gotten really lazy with doing this, but on my Notion a while ago, I was like, as I was reading books, if there was another one after the series, I was like taking notes as to what I felt like was important to remember. And I'm pretty sure King of Battle and Blood was one of those that I did. So I'll probably just end up having to go and read that because I really don't remember what happened. And I don't want to read the synopsis to this because then that would give spoilers as to what happened in the first one. But I remember really, really liking Isolde's character because she's super like strong-willed, stands up for herself, doesn't take shit from anybody type personality, which I love in books. I remember liking Adrian's character, but just not being like fully invested in him, didn't really care. He was like, okay. I didn't dislike him, I just didn't really care for him. That's about all I remember from that book. Next up, we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Another one that I've been putting off forever, but I did just read Bride by her, and I really enjoyed that. So I think this will be one that I get to soon, because I do see a lot of people say how much they like this. But this one, you're following Olive, who is a third-year PhD candidate. And it says she doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, I do remember this. Olive is like the main character, and she doesn't believe in love, but her best friend does. And they're like talking about something, and she lies and says that she has a boyfriend, and then she ends up kissing the first person that she sees while they're walking on campus. It ends up being Adam, who is like one of the professors on the campus, but he's like moody and grumpy. And then he like ends up agreeing to be her fake boyfriend for some reason. And then, you know how all these go. They end up actually falling for each other, let's be honest here. We all know that's going to happen every single time we go towards this, but We'll see. Okay, can we be surprised that my battery died? No, because it does every single time I record a video. Anyway, the next one is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Nothing about this makes me think spring other than the fact that it's a romance, and for some reason going into this spring I'm just on a huge romance kick right now, which I'm happy about because I was kind of getting a little burnt out with fantasy books. So it's nice to kind of have a new genre that I never really read anyway. This one, you're following Rowan, and basically this is like a knockoff. I feel bad saying that word. It feels mean to say that word, but I mean, you know, Disney World. And the grandpa in his will, I don't know if he's actually died yet or if he's like getting ready to and making his will, but anyway, there's like 3 grandsons, and he leaves each of them a different task that they have to do in order to get their inheritance. Which I don't know if it's this one, but one of them is like weird. And I've heard that it's like he has to get married and have kids in order to get his inheritance, which is just weird. But anyway, that's beside the point. Okay, yeah, no, this one is where he has to like design a new theme for the theme park. And he is like, you're following Rowan, who is like all business, cold-hearted, only focuses on work, and he's a... Okay. Cold-hearted. Okay. Ignore that. I know that I'm gonna have to include that clip in this video because I'm gonna keep laughing about that. Anyway, he's all business, cold-hearted, focuses on work. He's a billionaire. And his task is that he has to design like a new theme or a new ride, something like that, for the park. And he ends up hiring Zara. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly. And she ends up submitting a drunk proposal, criticizing their most expensive ride, but instead of getting fired, he ends up hiring her. And yeah, so they're working together to design this, and they end up kissing, and again, we all know where it's going to go from there. So, again, that's a series that I hear really, really mixed things about, but I still want to read it. I've never read anything from Lauren Asher, but another one that I really want to get to by her is Love Redesigned. I always see people talking about that one, and I've pretty much only heard good things about that one. So, next up is A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. This one is about a girl who is like a seamstress, a dressmaker. So she has magic where she can sew in emotions and memories into her work, and she ends up getting hired to do the whole thing for the royal wedding that's coming up. And so she ends up getting hired for this. She accepts it because she wants to kind of, as like the last thing that she can do for her family, is take this and leave them kind of well off, because when she does this with her dresses, every time she uses her magic, it does kill her a little bit. And while she's doing this, there's chemistry between her and the prince that's gonna get married, and a columnist ends up writing about that, and then he decides to blackmail them and tell them that he won't publish this and he won't go to the public with this knowledge so long as our main character agrees to find the secrets out about the royal family that she's doing this for. So I mean, it sounds really interesting. The cover is what makes me think of spring. Again, I'm excited to get to that one. I have heard mixed things about this one though. So now I was really excited when I first got it, but I know you shouldn't like base your thoughts on a book off of other people's thoughts, but you know, sometimes I just can't help it. Final one that I have for today is one I actually just got today, which is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series, and I am so excited to finally get to this. I've never read a cowboy romance before, and I see this series everywhere, and I just can't wait to finally get to it. I've been wanting to read this for so long, and my logic behind this is I've been wanting to read it because these are all on Kindle Unlimited. So it would make sense that since I pay for Kindle Unlimited, I should probably read it on my Kindle on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm not paying extra money. But in my ass backwards logic, I was like, I can't read this on Kindle Unlimited when I have all these books on my physical TBR. So what did I do? I impulsively bought this off Barnes & Noble. And now it's on my physical TBR. I don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me where my logic comes from because I don't have any. Can't read it on Kindle Unlimited because I have all these physical books, but let's just buy it when you don't need it and put it on your physical TBR, and then you won't feel bad when you finally read it. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, those are all of my physical books that I want to get to this spring. I know that there are plenty of books coming out this spring. Before making this video, I didn't even look at that, mainly so that I can stay delusional and think that I have a chance of even putting a small dent in my physical TBR. But let's be honest, I know that these books that I want to read are gonna come out this spring, and I'm gonna end up reading those instead of these. The only one that has a surefire chance of getting read this spring is this one. That is it. And once I read this, I know myself, and I'm going to go on a spiral and read all of these, and then I'm going to end up reading everything other than the books that I talked about today. That's pretty much all the books that I have on my physical TBR that I really want to read this spring. But let's be honest, I probably won't get to like even 50% of these. I'll probably get through like 2 of them. I know myself. I know how I am. Oh, today's also the first day of spring. So that felt very fitting to make this video today. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a thumbs up. Helps my videos out a lot. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all my future videos, where I'll probably be talking about the ones that I didn't read, which is going to be like this whole list anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!